The world doesn't fear poor women, it fears women who can't be bought. Because the moment a woman's worth is no longer for sale, every system built on quiet compliance begins to tremble. You were never meant to be powerless, only conditioned to believe that purity and prosperity could not coexist. Carl Jung once wrote that the psyche revolts when life demands a lie. He called it the rebellion of the self, the invisible uprising that begins when the soul refuses to earn by self-betrayal. And that is why so many awakened women find themselves in strange, unexplainable financial droughts. It isn't laziness, it isn't bad luck, it is a nervous system that refuses to trade truth for comfort. You've felt it, haven't you? You sat in the interview that praised efficiency but punished honesty. You forced a smile in rooms that smelled of fluorescent exhaustion and moral compromise. You wrote the email that twisted your voice just enough to sound agreeable. And afterward, your body felt heavy, as if you had sold something sacred for a handful of approval. That fatigue wasn't failure. It was your integrity protesting, your whole being whispering, "Not this way." But here's the cruel paradox. The modern world mistakes integrity for incompetence. It rewards those who can lie beautifully and punishes those who tell quiet truth. And when a spiritually awake woman refuses the game, society writes her off as impractical, naive, even self-sabotaging. She becomes allergic to the old economy, allergic to empty selling, hollow promises, synthetic smiles. She begins to shrink from anything that smells of manipulation. And soon, money itself starts to feel dirty, a symbol of everything she cannot bear to become. That's when the doubt arrives. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm not made for success. No, you are not broken. You are simply ahead of your time. Because what looks like financial struggle from the outside is often a spiritual refusal on the inside. It's your psyche saying, "I will not build abundance on deception." Jung warned that the persona, the mask we wear to survive, eventually collapses when it drifts too far from the self. Most people patch the mask. You tear it off, and that tearing sounds, to the unawakened, like failure. But the deeper truth is this: your rebellion is sacred. You are part of a quiet revolution. Women who refuse to profit by perpetuating the wound. Women who would rather face uncertainty than abandon their essence. And yes, it's terrifying, because the world has no blueprint for wealth that doesn't require some degree of anesthesia. Yet somewhere inside you, the self is building a new template. One where money serves meaning instead of replacing it, where exchange becomes clean again, not transaction, but reciprocity, where you can earn without shrinking and give without bleeding. You sense it, even now, the pull toward a different rhythm of prosperity, the one that doesn't punish sensitivity, but rewards alignment, the one that doesn't demand you perform hardness to deserve abundance. But between here and there lies a desert, a season of confusion where your old instincts don't work and your new ones aren't trusted yet. That's the place many awakened women call stuck. It isn't stagnation, it's alchemy in progress. You are not losing money, you are shedding manipulation. You are not falling behind, you are being recalibrated to truth. The symptoms look like scarcity, but they are signals of transformation. So before you decide you've failed, pause. You might simply be too honest for a dishonest economy. You might be one of the few souls whose livelihood will only stabilize when it becomes sacred. Today, we're going to name that pattern for what it really is. We'll uncover 5 hidden laws that govern why spiritually awake women repel traditional wealth, and how to reverse that magnetic field without losing your integrity. Because abundance isn't the enemy of purity, it's the structure that purity deserves. Stay with me, because once you understand these laws, you'll never mistake spiritual protection for financial failure again. The law of inner refusal. The first block to abundance isn't external, it's biological. Your body rejects inauthenticity like poison. Every time you say yes while your chest tightens, your nervous system logs it as betrayal. Soon, money linked to falsehood becomes contaminated in your subconscious. You stop reaching for opportunities not because you're afraid of success, but because your system has learned that earning can mean erasure. Jung called this the rebellion of instinct. The body revolts before the mind understands why. Microscene. You open an email about a great collaboration. The pay is high, the tone flattering, but your stomach knots. You close the laptop, then spend the night judging yourself for sabotage. It wasn't sabotage. It was self-protection. Question: when was the last time your intuition said no, but you labeled it fear? The law of moral overload. Awakened women often confuse exhaustion with virtue. You've been taught that goodness requires depletion, that rest is selfish, and charging for your gifts is greed. But morality becomes a cage when it's wired to self-erasure. You overgive, over-explain, overextend, then wonder why the universe stays silent. It isn't silence, it's feedback. The message is simple: stop leaking energy and calling it service. Micro scene. You stay up late finishing a friend's project just to help. She thanks you, you smile, but inside, resentment hums like a low fever. That's the body remembering the price of unpaid labor. Jung warned, the good that comes from self-betrayal is never truly good. Question: who taught you that martyrdom was moral? The law of the inverted mirror. The system shames you for rejecting it, and then secretly envies your clarity. Your refusal looks like failure only to those still asleep. You say no to manipulation, and they call you naive. You choose rest over hustle, and they whisper lazy. But the truth is, your presence unsettles people whose stability depends on illusion. They need your collapse to confirm their comfort. Micro scene. At a family dinner, someone mocks your creative lifestyle. You laugh politely, but inside, something ancient sighs. They don't realize your freedom exposes their cage. Nietzsche warned that whoever has his own must risk being hated by the herd. You are not hated because you fail. You are hated because you remind them they could leave. Question: how much of your self-doubt is just borrowed shame? The law of the unclaimed gift. Every unmonetized gift turns into punishment. You heal for free. You guide others through storms and refuse to be compensated because it feels wrong. But energy that only flows outward eventually burns its source. Money is not corruption. It's circulation. When you block the return, you block the lesson. Micro scene. You spend hours consoling someone who later says, "You're such a blessing." They go home lighter. You go home empty. That emptiness is not humility. It's imbalance. Jung called it the inflation of the helper, when compassion becomes self-erasure. Question: what if accepting payment is not greed, but grounding, the act that keeps your gift alive? The law of silent rebellion. When you stop performing poverty, abundance begins to listen. For centuries, women were praised for making do with less. Poverty was moralized, obedience disguised as spirituality. But the new consciousness doesn't glorify suffering, it sanctifies sustainability. Micro scene. You walk into a store and for the first time buy the version that lasts, not the cheapest. It's a small act, but your nervous system feels the shift. I am no longer apologizing for quality, because every time you choose enoughness, you rewrite the ancestral code of scarcity, and each decision, no matter how small, becomes a ritual of rebellion. Nietzsche called this the will to affirm life, to stop worshiping survival and begin practicing sovereignty. Question: what if your wealth isn't arrogance, but your ancestors finally breathing out? These 5 laws aren't motivational slogans. They are maps of consciousness, the subtle architecture that shapes how abundance flows or freezes. And once you understand them, you begin to see that your struggle with money was never about capability. It was about compatibility. Your old self was fluent in scarcity. Your new self speaks integrity, and that translation takes time. The fluorescent meeting. She sits in a glass conference room where the air smells of burned coffee and recycled ambition. The presentation flickers behind her like static. Someone says, "We just need to make it sound more exciting, even if the numbers aren't there." Everyone nods. She forces a smile, adds a note to her file, and feels her throat close like a fist. Her colleagues see confidence. Her body registers betrayal. That evening, she drives home in silence, staring at the city lights that blur like tears she doesn't shed. Inside, one voice repeats, "If honesty costs me my paycheck, what exactly am I selling?" Weeks later, she leaves the job. People call it impulsive, ungrateful, risky. But every night after, she sleeps through till morning. Her nervous system has finally stopped bargaining with her integrity. That is the law of inner refusal in motion. the quiet liberation that looks like loss to those still enslaved by the mask. The healer who never charges, she has a gift. She can calm storms inside people just by listening. Her friends say, "You should do this professionally." She laughs. "Who would pay for that?" So she keeps giving. One night, after hours of soothing another crisis, she sits on the floor, dizzy from compassion. Her phone buzzes with new messages. More people, more pain. And somewhere between guilt and fatigue, she realizes, I've built a temple where everyone prays but no one contributes. She closes her eyes and whispers, "No more free miracles." The next day, she sets a price, modest, sacred, enough to sustain her. Her hands tremble as she presses publish. But that night, for the first time, she doesn't feel drained. She feels rooted. That is the law of the unclaimed gift. When generosity matures into self-respect, the ancestral table, a family dinner, laughter, dishes clinking, the familiar ache of small talk. Her uncle jokes, "Still doing your little spiritual thing? Maybe one day you'll get a real job." The table laughs. She smiles faintly, the polite reflex of 1,000 generations. But inside, something ancient stirs. A vision flashes. Her grandmother counting coins under candlelight, whispering, "Good women don't ask for more." Her mother shrinking joy to fit into polite gratitude. And now her, pretending that freedom is failure. She places her fork down, looks up, and simply says, "It's not little, and it's very real." The table falls silent. No drama, no defense, just the clean weight of truth landing where silence used to be. That moment breaks a century of inherited obedience. It is the law of silent rebellion taking human form, quiet, sovereign, irreversible. The artist and the empty wallet. She paints at 2 a.m., candle wax dripping onto the floor, the room smelling of turpentine and coffee. Every piece feels like prayer, but she never shows them. It's not the right time, she tells herself. Translation: I don't trust that beauty can feed me. One morning, she wakes to an eviction notice. Panic, shame, adrenaline. She breathes, looks around and laughs, not bitterly but like someone waking from a spell. She gathers her canvases, takes photos, uploads them online. Within hours, strangers send messages. "Your work moved me. How can I buy?" It's not a miracle, it's alignment. Her art was never the problem, her silence was. That is the law of moral overload inverted, when she stops bleeding for the world and lets the world give back. The woman in the mirror. Months later, a new apartment, small but bright. She stands before the mirror wearing a simple linen dress. Her face is calm, no longer apologetic, no longer waiting for permission. Bills are paid, work is slower, quieter, cleaner. She makes less money than before, but every coin feels light, like it's passed through truth before reaching her hand. In the reflection, she sees not just herself, but the lineage behind her, women who survived by shrinking, and she whispers, "We can rest now." This is the law of the inverted mirror fulfilled, when wealth becomes reflection, not reward. All these scenes point to one truth. The world measures success by speed, but the soul measures it by integrity. And when you slow down to match your soul, you may lose the race, but you win your rhythm. 5 spiritual money practices. Because insight alone doesn't feed you, only integration does. And money, when aligned with consciousness, is simply energy given shape, a bridge between intention and reality. These 5 practices will help you build that bridge, slowly, steadily, without betraying your soul. Clean the frequency of shame. Money holds memory. Every coin you touch carries echoes of how you were taught to feel about worth, fear, guilt, apology. To reset the current, perform a simple ritual. Write one sentence you've never said aloud about money. Your ugliest belief, your hidden fear, your secret resentment. Then read it slowly, as if comforting a child who once believed it was true. Finally, burn the paper and whisper, "This story fed me once. It doesn't feed me now, smoke rises. Shame leaves with it." In Jung's language, this is shadow integration, making the unconscious visible, then releasing it. Create sacred exchange. Stop measuring your work in hours. Measure it in transformation. People don't pay for time, they pay for relief, clarity, peace. When you name your price, do not think, how much am I worth? Ask instead, how much value does this bridge deliver? The bridge is your work, the path from confusion to understanding, from fear to steadiness. You are not selling yourself, you are selling safe passage. Write this somewhere visible. My work is not a plea, it is a bridge. This reframing shifts energy from desperation to devotion, micro-visibility practice. The nervous system learns by exposure, not ideas. If being visible still feels dangerous, start microscopic. Record a 30-second voice note about something you know deeply. Post it anonymously if needed. Let your body feel the tremor, the pulse, the survival reflex, and do nothing to fix it. Each repetition teaches the body that visibility is not death, and one day your voice will reach someone who needed exactly your tone to breathe again. This is not marketing, it's somatic individuation, your psyche learning that truth can stand in public without punishment. Boundaries as economy. Every no protects the ecosystem of your integrity. Define your working hours, define your response times, define what your generosity includes and what it does not. Without boundaries, resentment leaks into everything, and resentment is expensive. It silently taxes your energy until nothing's left for creation. Think of each boundary as a gate, not a wall. It keeps the field fertile. Before agreeing to anything, pause and ask, can I give this without collapsing? If the answer is no, then the answer is sacred. Tithe to truth. Every month, direct a fraction of your income, no matter how small, to something that reflects your integrity. It can be a donation, a course, a creator, a sanctuary, a tree. It doesn't matter. What matters is that money learns where to flow. When you tithe to truth, you train currency to circulate through consciousness rather than fear. And over time, it returns, not always in cash, but in alignment, peace, timing, and miraculous coincidences that no algorithm could design. This is not superstition, it's pattern recognition. Jung called it synchronicity, the universe arranging around the clarity of your intent. Each of these practices rebuilds your relationship with money from the inside out. They are not quick fixes, they are quiet revolutions. And the woman who practices them will not just earn differently, she will exist differently, because her wealth will no longer depend on control. It will depend on coherence. The game didn't change you. You changed the game. Jung once said that what we refuse to confront returns as fate. And for many awakened women, money has been exactly that, a repeating fate that mirrored every old silence, every ancestral vow of smallness. But when you meet this shadow consciously, it transforms. Scarcity becomes a teacher, work becomes worship, and every exchange becomes an altar where integrity and abundance finally meet. You were never meant to compete with the world. You were meant to redeem it, one ethical transaction at a time, to remind humanity that wealth built on exploitation is poverty in disguise, and that money earned in alignment is not greed. It's grace taking form. Nietzsche once warned that those who cannot command themselves will obey forever. You have begun the harder path, self-command. It starts quietly, saying no to manipulation, yes to sustainability, refusing to apologize for beauty, refusing to prove your worth through exhaustion. That is how the new economy begins, not in boardrooms, but in bodies that no longer bow. You are not behind, you are on assignment. Each detour, each pause, each "I can't do this their way" was never failure, it was refinement. You are becoming the prototype of a different prosperity, one that feels clean in the body and clear in the conscience. Look around your life, the work you do, the relationships you nourish, the boundaries you've drawn. They're all evidence that the self, as Jung described it, has taken the reins. The deeper organizing intelligence inside you is designing a structure that matches your truth. And when form matches essence, everything flows. That is why your path is slower, but steadier. Because you are not chasing a number, you are shaping a world. You are not selling your time, you are teaching value by example. You are not learning how to earn, you are remembering that you already were the wealth. So, here is the vow. I refuse to earn against my soul, and I refuse to starve it. From that vow, design a week you can be proud of, One offer that feels clean, one boundary that holds, one act of generosity that doesn't drain, 1 hour of stillness that recalibrates everything. Integrity compounds like interest. The small, honest choices you make today will quietly rewire centuries of conditioning, and one morning you will realize something subtle but undeniable. The game didn't change you. You changed the game, simply by playing it as yourself. If this message touched something real in you, ground it. Go to the comments and write one line that begins with, "From today, I choose." Finish it with your truth. From today, I choose to earn without apology. From today, I choose to be both awake and abundant. From today, I choose to let money flow through clarity, not fear. Your words may become the sentence another woman needs to remember her power. And if this video gave you calm, clarity, or courage, share it, like it. Subscribe to this space, not as a routine click, but as an act of alignment. Because the more women who rise in integrity, the more the world itself begins to heal. See you in the next one, where we'll uncover Jung's hidden writings on why power terrifies gentle souls. Until then, protect your calm. It's your first currency.